Hey, welcome to Lab, the podcast. Happy New Year to everybody. It is brand new 2026. So welcome to 2026. I'm excited to be here with Director of V3's Lab Initiative, Christina Kruse. Freedom is beautiful. And for the last 9 years, in addition to art and music and literature, all the ways that we have been expressing the life and beauty of the gospel in the world, we have been committed to seeing that life and beauty come to human persons, the highest artwork of God. And Christina has been the director of the Lab Initiative for 2.5 years. So Christina, thank you for hanging out. Happy New Year. Can you believe 2.5 years as the Lab Initiative director?
It's gone by super fast. Fast.
Yeah. New Year's Eve, always, like, for so many people, is like a reset. You come into the new year and you've got at least something on your mind for 2026. Have you had time to think about the year and, like, is there a hope? Is there a desire or an intention or a resolution that is going to be important to you in 2026?
I mean, I think every year you always want to do like better than you did the year before. You know, always want to have a better year, fresh start. So I think for me, just like continuously to see that growth happen, not just with Freedom Roast and V3 and everything we're doing here, but I think just in general, you know, growth is life and growth is beautiful. And that's kind of the next, I guess, the story for 2026.
Yeah. It's cool. I love January. I love Christmas. I love Advent. I love the whole slowing down. And I love to do stuff. I love to be involved in things. I love all the things God's doing through V3. And knowing that we're coming into January is particularly important to the Lab Initiative. So we'll get into that. But when you look back at 2025, what stands out most about the Lab Initiative? You've been working this for 2.5 years now. So as you pause and you kind of look back over 2025, what stands out most about how it's grown?
So there's been a lot that we did in 2025. I mean, I think there's a lot that we've done with Buddy Brew. There's a lot we've done outside with Buddy Brew. I've been trying to do a better job of getting involved with like the local Tampa organizations. And I did get an opportunity this year to go just to one night to a networking event at a large anti-human trafficking conference. And that was really eye-opening because I got to really hear some of the issues on the legislation side of things, on the survivor side of things. So that really opened me up because this is not what I do in my day job. So I'm still learning like that world and what the people who are affected in that world, like what their day-to-day struggles look like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've done a phenomenal job. I say it all the time, but we have a phenomenal team at V3. Even looking back at the way the year ended into the art unveiling with Morgan Irons, we all stood back, I think, and had a moment. For me, it was when Shauna was singing. We have these conservatory artists and they're singing "Oh Holy Night." And we had a kind of a quiet moment to just all stop. And so much work goes into all of these things. And they're really working behind the scenes. It's really cool. And you've done such a good job behind the scenes, keeping the Lab Initiative moving forward. And we'll talk about some of the specific ways that it's grown, but this is really important to us a lot. And so many people say, wait, V3, you're making symphonies, you're making art. Are you an anti-human trafficking organization? And we say we all should be, right? Everybody should be anti-exploitation, anti-enslavement, anti-dehumanization. But it's personal for V3. There's a great movie called Monuments Men, and there's like I think George Clooney's in it. I believe if he's not, he should be. I think he's in it. But Monuments Men, the whole story is this team of military folks who are set out to try to preserve these beautiful pieces of art in a landscape of warfare where it's all being torn down. And for me, when I think about Ephesians and people being the poetry of God, like if we're on a mission to not just see captives set free, but if we really see, like Lewis, no mere mortals, that every human being, there is no other, they are unique. There is only one of one. Morgan Irons did this incredible painting and then issued these prints. There's one of 30. Only 30 people on the planet will get to have that piece. When you think about a person, there's one of one. And the God who created the world, that's one of one from that artist. And he signs each one, and we are precious to him. That is human life. And so of course we're anti-human trafficking. That's why the lab initiative has been so important to V3. And our hope is that there would be sustainable revenue to help care for survivors and fight the scourge of enslavement dehumanization. For you, as you work this problem kind of like a Rubik's Cube and try to get that sustainable funding piece figured out, that's our niche. There's incredible people doing the work. We're trying to create awareness and try to create some sustainable funding. What challenge is probably at the forefront for you as you try to figure that Rubik's Cube out to play our tiny little part in that? What are you focused on that maybe in 2025 you weren't able to solve it, but you're still working it?
Yes, so I think the biggest thing is really just getting the word out. I think in the social media space, we want this to go viral. We want this to tag. If you're in a Buddy Brew, snap a picture. If you're drinking Freedom Roast, snap a picture. If you have one of our awesome new mugs,
Let's go.
snap a picture. We want this to go viral. If you have an anti-human trafficking organization, let us know, tag us, tag the roast. We really want the awareness to go beyond us. I mean, we're a small engine that could, but I mean, I think everyone starts that way, so we really just need to get to that tipping point.
Yep.
And it comes from, what we're doing, but a big part of it comes from people listening. It comes from you all who know so many more people and are in so many different avenues than we can ever touch. So, you love us, you love the cause, tell everybody about it, because that's really going to be what gets, the word out. So tag, if you follow people online that are Christian artists or have a really good following and are pro anti human trafficking, which hopefully everybody is, but if they really are outspoken about it, like, don't be afraid to reach out to them. I mean, that's how we've made some of our connections at V3, which is crazy.
Awesome.
Just a social media message.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be a really big push in 2026 is like, who in our network do we know who might know someone to kind of, get us that thread to push us over the top to be like a viral, a household name.
Yep. Yep. I love that. I think part of what I've said, we interviewed the producers and the directors from the movie Cabrini. I've said it before that you have that same force about you. I think that's one of the things I respect about you as a leader is that you don't quit. You don't think it's impossible. We're going to get there. And I hear that in your voice. And I think it comes through that we are going to get there. We're not there yet. And we don't need to be like an instant viral thing that comes and goes. What we're interested in is one by one people going, of course, this is one consumer choice. I'm for the one of one. I'm for the one of one poetry of God, and I'm going to fight for that. And one way that I can fight for those people to be set free is to just choose the coffee I purchase. And with Dave and Susan behind us at Buddy Brew, $3 from every bag of Freedom Roast sold goes directly back in. And the genius of this is that it's a sustainable funding source for to fight human trafficking. You have that force and that energy in you, and I know you're going to say yes, but you think it's possible, right? Like you believe it's possible for us to get to the point where we're raising 30,000, 60,000.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, and I don't know if it will happen in 2026, but it will happen. I mean, it's happened for so many other brands and entities and, things that are less exciting or less purposeful. So why not happen, for us? And it's got to just be, in God's perfect timing, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to put in the effort. Faith without works is dead. So we have to do the work, and we have to be faithful that it will eventually come. And you always say, and I guess I always think long game. I read Simon Sinek's book, like The Infinite Game. So we are doing this for us, but we're really doing this for the future. It's really just laying that foundation. So, if it happens in 2026, awesome. We'll just move the goal higher in 2027. But if it happens later, then it happens later. But it doesn't mean it's not worth like the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. And we've seen good ground taken. So looking back at 2025, let's just highlight some of the things that are standout for 2025. Oak Rock was the organization that we partnered with to channel some resources. We loved them. What did you see in 2025 with Oak Rock that stands out?
I mean, they just do so much that is really under the radar. So it is hard to talk about it. But I mean, just like the resources and what they're able to do, like actually on like the extracting piece is really, really incredible. And then the fact that they're able to work not just with the US government and getting people processed and um, imprisoned and, all those things and kids rescued, but really what they can do globally. I mean, the relationships they have with other countries to be able to educate their law enforcement is super incredible. So just to be able to see that, and they're kind of a small engine that could. I mean, they're a US based nonprofit that through kind of some God winks, doors open for them, and they're in a space that they never really thought that they would ever be in. But they saw the need, they kind of had the resources, and they were like, well, I guess it's go time. So I mean, it's really cool to see like what they've been able to accomplish as well.
Yeah. And it's so fun again, drinking to freedom. Like there's that sense that every time I pour a cup of Buddy Brew's Freedom Roast, I'm able to see $3 of that find its way to an extraction operation that maybe I'll never hear about. I'll never know the people involved in that, but that work someday. I mean, this is the old idea that, hey, someday we're going to have a chance to celebrate at a great feast where somebody's going to walk up and say, hey, I'm a life that was changed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a captive that was set free. Let me tell a story about you paid attention enough to shift that consumer choice, and because of that, there was the funding to do this operation, and I was the child that was rescued out of that. That's actually reality.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we forget that, and we just think it's just administrative and it's just us doing charitable things. There's a reality of light versus dark that is playing out all the time,
Yep.
and we're participants in it. I love that. And those guys were doing and are doing some of the hardest work on the planet. We also have partners like Dave and Susan, who you've gotten to know really, really well. We've known them for years. They've been champions of V3 and of the Lab Initiative for a long time. We have a ton of respect for them. What have you learned and seen maybe in 2025 about them as people and the way they're stewarding and maybe the crew at Buddy Brew that stands out to you?
Yeah, so this year they were just wide open to so many ideas. At the beginning of 2025, we brought up like recupping the roast, and I'm not a coffee connoisseur. The coffee is great, but I had no idea what a coffee cupping was and what went into it. And they were like, sure, let's do it. So we brought together pastors from the churches that serve the coffee and got their feedback and literally went like, bean mix by bean mix to kind of figure out what was going to be the perfect mix. And now it's a 50-50 Colombia and Brazil. So that was the final winner. So they were open to that. And then we wanted to change up the label. They were open to that. We made it yellow. And then we asked about doing mugs because we have a gift set, and they were super open to, doing a mug. And then we mentioned National Coffee Day, and they did a set on one of the local Tampa Bay morning shows where they not just talked about what Buddy Brew has, but specifically highlighted Freedom Roast, which was incredible. And then they did another video for us when we asked about, okay, can we do something for Giving Tuesday? And they were like, sure, we'll do a video. And it was like, oh my goodness. So, they're really wide open to so many of the ideas that we have, which I love because it's a lot better partnership when you have someone who is open
Yeah.
and willing. So for me, I just enjoy like how gracious they are, and not just in the coffee front, but I mean, I see them at so many of our other events. I mean, they come to everything. They're always so genuine and open, and they want to, meet other people and have different connections. And it's just been awesome to get, to know them. And I know they're super busy, so any little opportunity I get with them is phenomenal. But they say yes to a lot of stuff, which is super fun.
Yeah. Yeah. They have given a ton to so many things, and this is including that. So I'd say one thing I would just put out at the beginning of the year, again, the power of prayer. We've talked about it so many different ways, but gratitude and expressing gratitude, even in our life of prayer, to just say, hey, God, thank you for that one of one that that is Susan and that is Dave. They are expressing the life and beauty of the gospel in the world in a really powerful way. So thank you for them. Second, pray for them, right? Like sometimes we forget to pray for the businesses, pray for the people, pray for the family, the people who are doing this great work. So pray for Buddy Bro. I love that. And we have church partners too. This is one of the things that was awesome in 2025 that, again, directly attributed to your leadership. The amount of church partners grew. Talk a little bit about that and how it translated to wholesale sales, right? Because Dave and Susan don't just give off of retail bags. It's wholesale.
Right. So the churches are really, really huge. One thing we did for our church partners this year is we created little like placards to put out for them with a QR code. So if you go to a church that serves Buddy Brew and you love it and you want to have it on other days than Sunday, you can scan that QR code and you can order it and get it sent to your house. Or you can pick up a bag at a local Buddy Brew. But now we have 5 churches on board. So we definitely grew a lot this year. I wrote them down so I didn't forget their names. But First Pres was actually the first church. So well done, First Pres in Tampa. And then we have Redeemer City.
Cheers.
So wonderful. Covenant Life, super great church over there in Tampa as well. South Tampa Fellowship, where Dave and Susan actually go. So well done serving Buddy Brew. And then Element Church. And then if we left any out, we don't see all the orders.
True.
So if we left you out by mistake, please reach out to us so we know, because we don't see like behind the scenes of all the orders. And you might be ordering and we don't know, or you might be ordering a different Buddy Brew blend and you should switch to Freedom Roast. So we can also help you do that as well. So if you need to reach out, you can find my name on the website, or you can just email me, Christina with the CH at vuvivo.com. And, we're super happy to see that. We can ship throughout the US. We can probably figure out shipping beyond, but if you have a church partnership, maybe your church is here, but you have a really good relationship with the church in a different state, we can send, Buddy Brew to them as well. So let us know what we can do, but that is a really great way to reach out, and not just for the anti-human trafficking piece, but also just the way that Dave and Susan source their coffee and the relationship they actually have with the farmers and the growers, and the way that they pay them. It's above board in so many different ways, and it's a Christian organization. So, if you're strong in your Christian values and you want your money to go to a Christian organization, their business is top notch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good job. And thank you to all the leadership and everybody who attends, the families at all those churches. You're talking about thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just with those 5 churches, you're talking about thousands of people who every week are participating in the fight against human trafficking because they made that simple choice. I can't think of a reason why a church wouldn't partner and serve Freedom Roast. There's literally no reason why a church wouldn't take that step. You're buying coffee already.
Right.
And so kudos to the pastors, the leadership, those churches. We just are in your debt. That's a phenomenal partnership. So everybody on that list, so cool. And again, pray for those churches. Mm-hmm. Thank God for those churches. Those are courageous choices. You think about the Clapham sect, William Wilberforce, the fight for abolition and against slavery, in a prior time. And it was a dense network of people working together with the same goal. And you saw that tipping point happen. So the churches participate, individual consumers participate, brand influencers and athletes and people who have reach and connections start talking about it. And we say, freedom is beautiful. It's a no-brainer. One of one. We're for people. We're for human dignity. That message begins to become so in the cultural context or in our cultural atmosphere that that's just the air we breathe. And of course I participate in this thing that's directly caring for survivors. It's awesome. Fantastic work. Let's turn to 2026 because I've been saying it over and over and dripping it in here. But number one, here we are in January 2026, and this is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Yes.
And we can't do the direct work. That's not the space that God's called us to, but He has called us to this space where we get to lead with beauty and we can draw attention to this issue. And so that's what we've chosen to do. And we are introducing there's just the power of an idea, that belief that rests at the bedrock of the thing, that freedom is beautiful. Freedom is beautiful. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And freedom is not divorced from the good. It's not the modern idea of freedom that I can do whatever I
Yeah.
want. I'm free to do whatever I want, divorced from God, me at the center. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about freedom as it is exists in the person of God, freedom for the good, to choose the good, to will the good. That is beautiful. And so we're introducing that idea. Freedom is beautiful. And we want to, picture's worth 1,000 words. So this January, we've commissioned an artist, and actually I think a collaboration of a couple artists who are going to do our first piece. And every January, we're going to introduce another exclusive limited edition print from an artist that's selected to take that idea of freedom is beautiful and put into the world a piece that draws attention to the fight against human trafficking and the care for survivors. So I'm so excited to introduce this. We get to release this print. Tell a little bit about how that's going to happen in January. The artists are finishing it up.
Yes.
They're working on it, and we get to debut this coming up.
Right. I mean, I think it's a great bridge from what we're doing. And I think to lead with beauty, but then you've got beauty, good, truth. And we can't really jump from beauty to truth without the good. So that's where the Lab Initiative and Freedom Rose fit in perfectly. And I think having, an exclusive drop every January that
So
we
good.
get excited about is going to be awesome. And then it will allow us to have, different merchandise with that image on it for the whole year and to celebrate that and to have, something kind of iconic outside of just the Buddy Brew brand, but to really make Lab its own brand in and of itself and to give something, give people something else. And I think I love what you and I kind of think a lot about this is like making the art a little bit more provocative, a little edgier, maybe a little younger, and making it graphic and not just art. I love art on my walls. My house is full of color and art, but I do think it's really awesome to see like Christianity out on someone's t-shirt out and about. And I see so many people if I'm traveling or at the gym, like so many people now just wear Christianity like right out front. And I love that we can kind of participate in that and have like a really sweet, shirt or mug or bag or whatever we decide to do. Available. And one thing we do every quarter with V3 is we do a Lead with Beauty luncheon. And January 20th is our first luncheon of 2026. So that's awesome. And it falls in Anti-Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So that whole luncheon will be geared towards celebrating those people who work in that space, because that is very, very hard work. And then also unveiling and talking about, our vision for 2026.
Yeah, I love it. January 20th. If you can be in the room, and the links will be in this with this podcast, so you'll see it. You can go to the link, get your ticket to the Lead with Beauty luncheon. I think anybody can come to those, so you just follow the link, come. And I think the capacity of the room might limit it, but
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. If you want to come, be in the room. I would love to celebrate this because we are going to invite some of our partners locally that are doing the actual work and be able to salute those folks who are doing the hardest work. And then we're going to begin with our first year of unveiling a limited edition art commission aimed right at this idea that freedom is beautiful. Cannot wait. And it is provocative. There is an edge and some excitement around this piece. So you're not going to want to miss it. I can't wait to introduce the artist. We're going to do a proper interview or a proper introduction on an interview here on Lab the Podcast. So that's coming up. We've got some goals around the Freedom Roast sales. So just talk about 2026. What do you hope we can accomplish, and what are you aimed at directly when it comes to increasing sales in 2026?
Yeah, so I think 5 churches is a great start. I personally love like double digit round numbers. So I think if we can double that and aim for 10, the next time we do this for 2027, I think having 10 churches is going to really be a great goal. And I think it's very doable. We have a great team with MV3. People are starting to really recognize the coffee. I mean, now when we're selling art at a collective, people actually come up and buy the coffee now too. They're excited. They'll buy art. Like someone bought art and coffee. I was like, this is a great combo. So it is nice to see like that recognition coming out. I think changing the color of the label to yellow really makes it stand out more on the shelf. I think having the yellow mug. So I think, just continuously talking to churches and letting them know like we have this available. So I think doubling that. And then I think with that comes more awareness. So I think if we can start to get in the decimal club when it comes to bags sold, start to get 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 bags sold, like that will feel really, really good because we're like right under that. So it's
Yeah.
like we gotta tip that tipping point too to get into the decimal club.
Yeah. Why not? Help us do that. Here's how you can help do that. If you're listening to this podcast, right? First, yes, if you buy coffee, if you drink coffee, buy Freedom Roast. Make it, even if it's once a year that you buy one set, one monthly order. If it's every month, great. If it's every day, even better. Drink Freedom Roast individually. Also, if you are a member of a church, or I just had lunch with a friend who works within a hospital system, and he was talking with such excitement about what if we could get the doctor's lounge to serve Freedom Roast?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we do that? Right? So everybody, each of us have our own specific space where we get to go in and advocate for this. So if your church is not yet serving Freedom Roast, be the advocate. Go knock on that door. That's that dense network. All of us working together. Pretty soon we're serving it at TGH, St. Joe's, my church, my living room, all of us partnering. And by the way, it's so good. You
It is very
updated the
good.
roast. It's legit.
And I don't like coffee
So good.
black, and I can drink that coffee black.
It's
I mean,
really
it
good.
is really good coffee.
Really good coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done to the cupping team, right? Like we
Yes.
worked with some really pretty distinguished palates, people who
Yep.
really do love coffee.
There was a lot
They
of
know.
discussion. There was a lot
Yeah.
of back and forth. Yeah.
It was really, really beautiful. So, and it is an art. Just that crafting that coffee was beautiful. All right. All of that funnels down to, right? We have two goals from V3, right? Again, we're not doing the anti-human trafficking work. We see people as the poetry of God. They are the artwork and handiwork of God, one of one, one of one, one of one, made by the artist himself that creates life. Let's go, right? That's the thing. And so we're in this to draw awareness to that reality of human dignity, and then to try to create channels where we can provide some resource to recover it and to care for the survivors and stop the dehumanization. That's our part of this. And so we're going to try to raise awareness and raise money. We're going to do that raising of money through this consumer good, common good partnership with Buddy Brew. Check. And then that money is going to flow right back into the people who are doing this really, really well. And I'm excited about this year. You've kind of guided the decision to focus in a particular way for 2026. I think it's going to be really impactful. Talk a little bit about the bridge or the connection that we're making to distribute the funds for 2026.
So in 2026, we are going to partner with Safe in Tampa Bay, and they are an alliance that fights exploitation in Tampa Bay. And they've been an organization I've been plugging in with for the last year, really just to learn what the issues are in Tampa Bay, learn about the other organizations that plug in there. And I also think it's going to be a great partnership because they do events. So it will also kind of help cross promote each other, which we really haven't had a local cross promotion. So I think that will be a really great way for us to like help them, but also for them to help us get the word out because they just know so many people. And some of the things that I plan to do is just be more visible at some events. I mean, we did the My Spirit FM interview again, and that will air in January. And then I'm also going to go to a couple of conferences I would like to go to, and then, just be more visible. So if you do have a church event or an event coming up and you want someone there representing V3, we're happy to come. We'd serve coffee, all the things. So I think just having a local partner is going to be great because we'll have someone like more tangible to connect with. So, and Kristen is the director and she's awesome. So I think it will be a really, really great way for us to impact like the Tampa Bay community.
Yeah. Isn't that great? The way the partnerships and the way that we get to play an orchestrated part are one small note in this big symphony that God is doing, and it makes a difference. And you've done such a good job at saying, hey, let's not recreate the wheel. Let's not try to be good at everything, right? We play our specific part, raising awareness and creating this partnership with people who are leading with beauty. And boom, right? Now we can bring resources and we're partnered. So I think Safe Alliance is a brilliant choice. Kristen's great. Their team is great. We have this principle of friendship first at V3, and you've spent a year developing relationship and listening, learning, watching, and trying to make the decision, how can we best steward the resources that are coming through these initiatives and make sure they go right back. The fact that it's going local is fantastic. So you'll hear more about that. Again, January 20th, come to the Lead with Beauty Luncheon. January is just filled, right? Like this month, we're just talking about this from every different angle. So thank you, Christina, for your work, for helping us move this down the field. I think 2026 is going to be the most exciting year for the Lab Initiative with the art, Freedom is Beautiful campaign, the artwork coming out, the updated roast is now out circulating. Sounds like 10 churches are jumping on board.
Absolutely.
We're just saying it's
10
happening,
plus.
right? 10 plus. So let's land the plane with this specifically, because it's so fun to get to do things together. We created our art guild. We launched that in December. That it's so fun for us as a team. We get to make crazy things. We're all a part of making symphonies, making these crazy art commissions. We get to do so many fun things. And part of the joy is we get to do it together. And that art guild lets people participate and say, hey, I was a part of commissioning that painting. So cool. The Lab Initiative is the same way. People get to say, hey, I'm actively a part of this fight against human trafficking.
Yes.
So there's a few ways, right? Again, just to recap, that people can actively participate in the Lab Initiative. Take us back through that just and make an invitation to everybody and kind of as our coach and huddle us up and send us into the year. This is the first podcast of the year is getting this attention. So you get to be our coach and send us out. What plays do you want us to run in 2026?
So from now until January 20th, the first thing you can do is go to vuvivo.com and you can order a bag of coffee directly from our website. We have a link that will take you to Buddy Brew. So you can go ahead and do that right away. You can also go to our website and just make a donation and just earmark it to the Lab Initiative. So
Perfect.
if you would like to start your year off with a giving heart, maybe you were under budget on your Christmas spending, you can start 2026 off with a gracious heart and you can just donate. Once January 20th comes, watch our socials and go back to our website because we'll have the art print and merchandise and things drop for that. So that's really like the first kind of like tangible things. And then, share. It's always great to share. If you do end up buying one of our arts pieces, post about it, share about it, talk about how it makes you feel, or why you did it. Don't just, post it and move on, like actually like interact with us and then, share that out. One thing I love about the new label on the coffee bag is we put a QR code on it. So I love to gift them. I order 3 bags every single month. I don't drink 3 bags every single month, but I love to gift them. And now I can gift them with a way that makes it easy for someone to like reorder it. So I would say those things and then, pray. I know after communion every single week, I have like my prayers memorized. And in the middle, I always pray for the organizations I support. So I always pray for you all. I always pray specifically for Dave and Susan. And I always pray for the partnerships with Buddy Brew. So I mean, pray. Because, God hears our prayers. Maybe not in the time, maybe they're not answered in the time we want them to be in our human, angst. But, God does hear our prayers. So I would say, click, share, pray.
Yeah. There you go.
Click on the website, share your experiences with the art or the coffee, and then, pray about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good job. Thank you. And thanks for the encouragement to share. I think sometimes, like you said, it's easy for us to like, we hit the button and that's great. That engagement is super, super good. But to take an active part and just the idea that dense network, we're all connected to somebody, and we're probably 3 steps removed from the decision maker that could put this coffee in an organization or highlight it in a magazine or in the news or in some way that you and I'll never be able to get through that door.
Right.
Somebody listening is absolutely able to get through that door. And it just takes that courage and awareness to be like, hey, let me make that connection. So that was super good. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Christina, here's to a great year. We always say, here's to what we can't yet see. And freedom is beautiful. Humans, people are the poetry of God. He's the great artist. And there's a one of one. And in every single one of us, that's true for you listening too. So if you're starting your year and you're a little bit down on yourself and you're coming into January and you're kind of in that post holiday, like there can be a little bit of sadness. There can be a little bit of like, oh, the slump. I'm back into a new year. Maybe I didn't hit my goals for 2025 and I'm a little discouraged going into it. Just take this away. Like, you are one of one. God created one of you. And that is from the jump, from the start, we get to be one of one, the poetry of God. That is true for every single one of us. And it's true for every single person in the world. And it's true for the people who are really, really hurting right now. And I go back to some previous Lab Initiative podcasts with some of these courageous people doing the hardest work. And they tell these stories of what it's like to be rescued out of that life. Or I think about the young woman who we direct action sent thousands of dollars to get her and her mom out of a situation and living in a home. Mm-hmm. Think about what that's like. The Widow of Nain is in my mind from that beautiful painting by Morgan Irons, and the look on the woman's face after she had encountered the grace of God. I think all of your efforts, Christina, are going to lead to more and more of that wonder and amazement. And we're going to catch these one of one poetry of God looking, going, God saw me and rescued me. And that's worth it. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you, everybody, for starting 2026 off in this way. Freedom is beautiful. And we can't wait to see you on the 20th.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah.